大家好，我是 Julie 老师。Hi everyone, my name is Julie 老师. Welcome to today's class. Today we're going to be discussing Mandarin Pinyin. Have you heard about Mandarin Pinyin? What do you think it's about? Please put down a comment below and let us know more about what you understand about Mandarin Pinyin. So what exactly is Pinyin? Pinyin is how we spell out sounds in Mandarin Chinese. I'm sure most of you have come across Chinese characters at some point when you buy an item in a receipt. And what you can see are Chinese characters. So we have another system known as the Pinyin, of which uses the Roman letters, that is the ABCs, to represent Mandarin sounds. So this tells us that one character represents a sound. And as you can see from my table here, I have a character, I have Pinyin, and I have the English meaning. So if you see one character, you have one syllable of sound. That is how we read it. We read it as ni. And then the second character is how, ni hao. I'm sure most of you have heard about ni hao or have heard ni hao, how to say hello. So basically, Pinyin helps with pronunciations and literacy. So even as we learn characters, we're going to learn their Pinyin. That is how to sound them out, how to read them. Pinyin also helps with typing. Imagine you're writing a 400 characters essay. Yes, it's possible to draw out the character one by one, but it's going to be a very tedious process considering these are a lot of characters. So what we do, we can use our keyboard and type out, as long as you've added Mandarin as part of your language, of your keyboard options. You're going to have a number of options where you can choose a character from, and then you can choose the character that you want. Pinyin is also very essential when looking up words in the dictionary. Maybe there's a word you keep hearing, but you don't understand what exactly it means, or you'd like to check out how it's written in characters. You can go to your Pleco dictionary, type out the sounds that you hear, and look at the options to check the correct context or to check out the correct word. You can so basically we can say Pinyin are our training wheels when we start learning Mandarin. And it's going to get at some point when you're familiar with characters, your character album is big enough, and you can just be able to type and write just using characters without even checking the Pinyin. You can be able to read out the characters without even thinking much about them, because you've become familiarized with them. So let's look at a Mandarin syllable or a sound. This is how it looks like, and as you can see, we have the two writing systems represented here. We have the character at the bottom, and then we have the Pinyin at the top. So today we're going to focus on Pinyin. As you can see, a Mandarin syllable is made up of three components. We have the initial, which is mostly comprised of consonants. We have the final. I'm going to have an extra class to expound more on types of finals, and we have the tone. So initial, the final, and the tone. We're going to be discussing these three components today. So initials are known as shēngmǔ. As you can see, we have the characters here, and we have the Pinyin, the Roman letters representation, shēngmǔ. Those are two syllables. So let's look at the types of initials that we have. And as I have previously stated, initials are comprised of what we know as consonants in English. So let's start off. Bo. You can repeat after me for practice. Bo. Po. Mo. For. So if you listen carefully, bo, mo, and po, for, when I say poor and for, I tend out to blow out a lot of air compared to when I say bo, more, de, te, ne, le, ge, ke, he, z, ts. It actually sounds like you're reading ts. Ts, s, r. I'd like to point out when you're saying r, we don't vibrate our tongues. This actually depends on your mother tongue. For example, in my mother tongue, I'm used to saying r. So it's in Mandarin, it was a bit hard for me to train my tongue not to vibrate r. So do a little bit of practice if you have trouble with that. G. And then for this group, starting with G, what you do, you put your teeth together. It helps in reading them. Put your teeth together. G. Have a wide smile. G. Chi. She. G. Chi. She. Right? So now what you do for the next group is curve your tongue just a little. Make sure your lips are round, and now your teeth are a little bit apart, so you can say dr, dr, ch, ch, sh, sh. So I'm going to read again from the top. Bo, po, mo, for, de, te, ne, le, ge, ke, he, z, c, s, r, ji, chi, shi, zhi, ch, sh. All right, as you can see, all these are consonants, or what we know as consonants in English language, but they're not all similar to the consonants that we use in the English language, so you need to take a note of that. Then the next section is going to be about our finals. Finals are known as yùnmǔ. We have different types of finals, but today we are going to just look at the first section. So please remember this sequence. It's going to be very, very important in our next class when we are learning different types of finals and tone placement. First final is ah. So imagine your mouth is wide open, like when you go see the doctor and your doctor tells you to say ah, when he needs to check your throat, or the dentist who needs to check your teeth. Okay, the next one is oh. The third one, this one, initially I found this very difficult to pronounce. So what you do, place the tip of your tongue at the upper part of your jaw. Okay, that's how you say it. E, u, u. So take note, we have two special sounding finals. This is not e. We don't have e in Mandarin. We have and then we have the u with the two dots on top, which sounds like you're saying you and you're trying to whistle at the same time. You. So let's start from the first one. Ah, o, e, u, u. Okay, so we go to our last section our last component of syllables, which is tones. Mandarin is a tonal language, and we have 4 tones in Mandarin. We have the first, the second, the third, the fourth. And then we have syllables that do not have any tones on top of them. We call them the neutral tones. So let's look at the different types of tones and how they are written. So we have the first tone. The first tone is a flat tone. It stays high. It actually sounds like somebody who's singing a steady high note. For example, so, depending on how high your voice is, it can be so. How do we read the first tone? We read it as ah. Okay, it is flat, it does not go down, it does not go up, and then you stretch it. Then the second tone rises from mid from the third line all the way to the fifth line. It sounds like you're asking a question. Really? What? Okay, so let's read it. Ah. Okay, and then the third tone falls and rises, and from the table you can see that the fall is very short because it falls from the second line to the first line and then rises from the first line to the fourth line. So remember, as you pronounce it, the fall is very short. Ah. And then we have the fourth tone. The fourth tone has a sharp, sudden fall from the fifth line to the first line. So it actually sounds like a falling object which is hitting the bottom with a thud. And it also sounds like a command. For example, if you tell somebody no, it sounds like a command, a full stop. There is no room for negotiation. No. And then so we read it as ah. So if something is falling or you're hitting your table, ah. So I've encountered a number of students who have a problem with this tone. They read it as ah, but it should be ah. Remember, the fourth tone is final, sounds like a full stop. I've had a lot of students ask me, why is it, Laoshe, that when Chinese people are speaking, sometimes it sounds like they're fighting, but they're actually smiling. So sometimes if your sentence is comprised of a lot of syllables with the fourth tone, it will actually sound like you're having an argument. Because it sounds like you're giving a command or you're scolding someone. Go! No! Ah! Okay? And then tones are... remember, you can indicate tones on the 6 finals that we've learned. A, O, R, I, U, U. The same way, and you practice, so you can do a little bit of practice with that. So note that tones are specifically placed on top of the intended vowel. Okay, don't make the mistake of placing the tone on the side, so it is not very clear where the tone should be placed. It should be specifically placed on top of the intended vowel. And then something else about tones. In Mandarin, once the tone of a syllable changes, the meaning changes. I've given an example here of the syllable ma. That is more, when they come together, they form the syllable ma. So when we indicate the 4 tones, we're going to have ma, ma, the neutral tone. So when you look at this, ma means mom, which is read as mama. We have ma, hemp, ma, which is a horse. Then you have ma, to scold, ta mao. Then we have ma, the question particle. So this ma, we're going to come across it in our grammar lesson, the beginning classes of grammar. So in case you're given an exam and you're told to write horse, but instead of writing ma, you write ma, then you'd have written mom, not horse. If you're told to write mom and then you write ma or ma, then you'll have written something totally different. So as we learn new words in Mandarin, make sure you pay to mind the tones of that specific word. And we can do a little bit of practice here. So here we have bo, a, fast tone, ba. You're combining the initial, the finals, and the tones to form syllables. Fo, o, second tone, fo. Le, yu, fourth tone, liu. Ne, I, that tone, ni. Okay, so I hope you've learned a lot today. Please make sure that you share, subscribe, comment, click on the notification bell so that you're notified when I upload the next lesson. And please leave a comment down below. How did you find the class? How could I improve my classes? What did you find interesting about the class? Any questions that you may have about the class? And any other questions you may have about Mandarin language, all the way from HSK1 to HSK6, YCT1 to YCT4. Thank you for tuning in to my class today. I'm grateful. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye. 再见.